Hello guys, welcome to Coding Every Day. My name is Otto and this is another episode of the Asta Manager project. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my Asta Manager intro video. In this series, we are going to start with the idea of a website and get it done and live in production. In the last episode, we had a look at some the React app. It doesn't do much for us for now, but that is fine. In this episode, we will look at some backend, and in our case, it's going to be an Azure Functions backend. So let's get started. Before I go on, one thing that I forgot in the last episode is to show you my setup for the Create React app. So the things that you will need in order to run the commands that I run, that you'll need Node.js, and that will come with the npm, which is the Node package manager. If you don't know what those are, Node.js is essentially just a JavaScript interpreter for your server, so that you can run JavaScript on the server side. And npm is a package manager that allows you to download packages that are JavaScript packages. That is in a nutshell. I'm sure that you can find more information about those online, or I can create another series with the basics about web development if you prefer. Just let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's get started. So in our solution, in our folder, we will open Visual Studio, and we will create a new solution. The reason I'm using Visual Studio 2019 rather than Visual Studio Code is just I think it helps me with adding more packages later, and I find it easier to work with. So let's create a new project, and in this case I would start with an empty solution, and we put the solution in this folder. And we call it Asta Manager. Okay, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. Let's close the solution because I didn't want it to be in another folder called Asta Manager in here. So we will move these folders to the root, and then we can delete this, and now we can open the solution again. Okay, so we have an empty solution. It doesn't do much for us, but we can add a new project, and we can look for Azure Functions, and then we can call this Asta Web API. You can call it something else if you prefer. And then from here I would prefer to start with .NET 5, and let's start with Anonymous, just so we don't have to deal with that for now, and HTTP trigger, which means that our function will be called by an HTTP request. So let's create that. Okay, so we have our function that is called function1. We can rename that to hello, and let's rename it here as well, hello. And essentially by default what this does is just printing a message when you call the request. Okay, so let's start the API and see what we've got so far. So as I don't know if you've seen it, but of course if you have Visual Studio 2019, everything comes with it, so you can run it. Otherwise, you will need the Microsoft Azure emulator for the emulated storage. So here we have our function running. So now if we call this endpoint in the browser, because we allow both get and post methods, if we call it, we should get welcome to Azure Functions. So this is great. Let's see what else we can. Let's add this message to the home page of the React app, just for fun. So here we have the add task, we have the navbar. Let's also add h1 welcome message, and let's add the use state here. Okay, so it was just slow, but it's actually everything is there. Okay, so let's display this message. We are displaying it now on. Let's add a fetch message sync and here we use await this is the URL, which is the same that we have in the browser here. I think that can do, that should do. So if the response is okay, which means that is in the 200 or 200 and something, then we can fetch the text and we can set welcome message text. Now we will use React's use effect. So that we at the first time that this component is mounted, or every time that is mounted, rather, we call fetch message. Should do. We need to await this. That's why he's complaining, because that was not a string. It should go away now. Yes, it's just slow while I'm recording. I'm surprised. Anyway, now that we have that, if we run this, we should have that at the beginning that the page will show only welcome, because that's the default, and then as soon as we have a response from the server, it will change to something else. Let's see. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we have an issue with course. Yes, so because we are calling this endpoint from localhost 3000, we need to enable course on the Azure API side so that it will accept, it will send back the course headers for this domain, or rather this authority. Okay, so let's see if I remember how to do it in the local settings for host. Don't remember. Give me a second, guys. I will look it up. So, of course, guys, I will put the link in the description how to get started with Azure Functions if you are using something else rather than Visual Studio 2019. You can use Visual Studio Code, it's perfectly fine. You will find information in the documentation. I'll put the link in the description. Okay, so the thing is that I think here we need to put this, and then if we localhost, well, this is just if you need to change the port, but what we are looking at is the course bit. So let's run it again and see if that actually works. Hopefully it works. So now, yes. Okay, so I think that's it for now for this episode, just to try to make it short and easy to digest. I think in the next episode, what we will do, we'll use some authentication and we'll start using static web app to manage that. So make sure you subscribe and put a thumbs up, and make sure that you don't miss any episode. Thank you, guys. Bye.